Hello people of the internet. Today I want to review Jane Austen's novels. She's got several, of course. There's Mansfield Park, Persuasion, Northanger Abbey, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma, which I'm currently rereading. So the only one that is missing is Lady Susan, which is a novella which I have not written, and I just found out about it last week and I'm gonna buy it. Actually, it's on my Christmas list. Doesn't matter. All these books, all of Jane Austen's books, are written from the perspective of a 18th century woman's perspective, and the trial and tribulations of basically women, noble women. All they could do is either marry, become a governess to children, and essentially that's what all these books are about. Now, I want to clarify what I think is a misconception on these books. These are not romance novels. They're not. I realize the main themes on all these books is about love, getting married, and falling in love. Technically, that's a romance. But these are not what you may think as a romance novel in any way, shape, or form. They're characters in a book that Jane Austen wrote, but they're, I'm pretty sure, based on real people that she knew from her life, real relationships. So where Jane Austen really shines is in character development and how the interactions of those characters is made or maintained in the books. She's incredibly funny, and I think most of these books are done as a tongue-in-cheek type of idea. They all have a lesson. Pride and Prejudice. This is mainly about the Bennets and Elizabeth Bennet, and how she overcomes her pride and her prejudice, and basically about Darcy as well, how he overcomes his own pride and prejudice. So essentially it's about these two people who in the beginning absolutely hate each other. Well, and maybe it's too strong of a word, hate. They don't really like each other. And then in the end, Darcy shows Elizabeth and Elizabeth shows Darcy their own flaws and how they can improve on each other, on themselves. And essentially that's what makes them fall in love with each other. Great story, wonderful. If you can manage to get past the language, it's a little bit archaic. Also, there's references to carriages like barouche and a chase and things like that that we don't use today. If you can get an annotated version, I have one. I got a great annotated version from Anchor Books, and it's wonderful because in one page you'll have the novel and in the other explanations. So it'll explain many things we're not used to today. For example, in this page, carriages, it says the Bennets, who now number 8, including Mr. Collins, would need more than one carriage since their own vehicle, a coach, would seat only 6. They have presumably hired a second, smaller one for the evening. I mean, these are details that people from her time would definitely have known when reading Pride and Prejudice. We're not privy to those things because we don't live in that era. Northanger Abbey. Essentially, this is her Gothic novel, making fun of Gothic novels. She absolutely hated Gothic novels. And this is about a young lady who could have gotten seriously into trouble, and yet everything turns out great for her. She meets a wonderful young man. Things turn out great for them. Not one of my favorites of Jane Austen, but I really like it. There's Mansfield Park. How can I describe this heroine? She's like a little mouse. She doesn't speak up for herself. She's abused. She comes from a poor family. And regardless of all that, she will follow what she believes is true, even to the detriment of her own self and her own family. But if you have to read it, she has a chance to marry this rich guy who doesn't have any scruples. Basically, can't bring herself to say yes because she does not trust him. And I mean, her family is extremely poor. They could really use the help. I mean, she could help their entire family by it, and yet she says no. And by the way, I should say all her books end on a good note. I have not read Lady Susan, so I don't know about that one. But all the ones that I read and that I've listed here have happy endings. So if you like happy endings, definitely good reads. Emma, what can I say about Emma? All her characters are flawed, extremely. The heroines, the parents, and the gentlemen that they fall in love with, they're all flawed. Not in one of these books are these characters perfect in any way. They either have some sort of pride or lack sensibility, or as in this, are blind to the fact that they're perfect for each other in this book. She is the daughter of a nobleman in a small town, and basically, except for her and a gentleman friend, there's really no equal for her in town. She has way too much power, and she's too self for herself. At any rate, great book, wonderful. Any of these books, you'll have recurring characters, a sickly relative, whether it be a father, a mother, an aunt, that sort of thing. Always parents that were somewhat neglectful on their duties to make sure that their children are either brought up right or safe or both. And always, of course, because Jane Austen, they were well off, and her father was a clergyman. And all these, there's always a chance that there's going to be an incredible amount of failure, and that the women would end up bad in the family in a bad manner. Procession, again, her character is meek, and she was been persuaded not to marry a young man of her choosing because he was going to go into the Navy as a lieutenant, and there's no prospects for him. Anyway, great story. 8 years later, she comes around and meets what he is now captain, and what happens from there. I don't want to spoil it if you're going to read it. Great, wonderful story. Like I said, they all have happy endings. And Sense and Sensibility is one of my favorites. Sense and Sensibility, Emma, and Pride and Prejudice are my three most famous or favorite books from Jane Austen. Again, these are sisters who end up, their father dies, and this is not a spoiler since towards the beginning. Her father dies. They have a half brother, and as women, they're not entailed on the estate. So then, what happens there, and what transpires throughout the entire book? It's wonderful. If you have not read Jane Austen because you think these are romantic novels like the current ones, where you have a woman who wants to meet a guy because he's insert here, good looking or rich or lovely and perfect and everything that she desires. These are not those books. And if you want to read them for that, you'll probably be disappointed. These are true characters. They're truly flawed. They're wonderful stories. For me, Emma, Elizabeth Bennet, and Eleanor from Sense and Sensibility have truly become part of my family, and love to watch the movies, love to read the books. So if you haven't given it a try, I realize there are probably a million reviews on Jane Austen and her books. I know anywhere from Mark Twain to George Eliot have reviewed her books, and Mark Twain hated her and George Eliot loved her. So, and also Hemingway loved her writing. Give it a try. I'll put links below, and hope you enjoyed this review. Have a great day. This is going to be a very long video, isn't it? Hello, people of the internet. Today I want to review Hello, people of the internet. Today I want to review all of, or most Jane Austen novel. Good grief. Elizabeth Bennet. I'll be right back. As well as Darcy's, good grief.